All right, welcome everyone to our governance call number 8. My name is Orhan. I will be your host today. I am one of the governance facilitators and will be hosting the call today. Now, the plan for today is to start with a brief governance update. So mention some of the referendum votes that have passed since our last call and what is currently ongoing, and what is upcoming, what's ahead of us. After that, we will have Cassidy to talk a little bit about the transaction fees update. And we have Mike from Credit Group, who will give us some news from there as well. And then there is the governance UI rollout that I will be talking a little bit about as well. And lastly, we have demo from Web3 Alerts, which is a notification app, and they will talk all about that towards the end of the call. So just to, welcome Greg, is in the chat here as well. So just to give quickly sum up what we talked about in the last governance call, we had a presentation from Polk Assembly from their UI. And we had, there was a discussion about the Tin Lake CFG rewards. And there was also an announcement of the bootstrapping period for providing liquidity to Karura Swap, the Air AUSD pool. So that was what happened in the last call. Now, as for governance updates, there has been 2 referendum votes on Centrifuge. One was for the aforementioned Tin Lake rewards to adjust them, and that referendum vote passed. And there was also another referendum vote for runtime upgrade 1009. And the main purpose of that, one of the main purposes of that runtime upgrade was to open the HRMP channel between Centrifuge and Akala. So that was for Centrifuge, and for Altair, we had also a runtime upgrade 1018. And we had the first treasury proposal on Altair as well to reward their collators for their July rewards. So that's something that we will do every month. We did it as 5 separate proposals this time, but next time we will do them as a batch. So there will be only 1. And last but not least, there was a proposal to open the first pool on Altair for testing purposes, so it's not open for the public, and Esther wrote a detailed description of the test results on the forum, so I'm not going to go deeper into that right now. So that's what had happened since the last call, and what's ongoing right now is that there is a proposal for integrating Subsquare as our user interface for governance. So the choice fell on Subsquare over Polk Assembly, and there's currently a poll going on, and the poll is open for 5 days still until next Tuesday. And last time I checked, there were 19 people who had voted, and all voted in favor of integrating Subsquare. So that is the results of that so far. So if it stays like that, then that means we will continue the process of integrating Subsquare as our governance UI. And lastly, what lies ahead of us, what governance proposals lies ahead of us, there will be a new discussion for the Tin Lake CFG rewards. With the current rewards, we have to, I believe it's like 54, 55 days still. Ivan, correct me if I'm wrong, that we still have rewards for that many days, but it would be a good idea to start the process a little bit earlier so we will not be in reward deficit. So start the process in due time. So we can expect that to happen mid-September. So that was a quick update on governance. And if Cassidy is here, I will pass it to her to talk a little bit about the transaction fees. Are you with us, Cassidy?
Yep, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yep, we hear you.
So This proposal here is a bit of an older one that was made by Ash. I mean, there's not too much of a crazy update there, just that the team's moving forward on implementing what was proposed and voted on by the community. So then you can see the latest comment there is the update from Luis today, actually, that they've merged this. So increasing the fees, adding the treasury palette, where 80% of the fees are going into the treasury palette and the other 20% goes to the collator. And right now the burn rate is set to 0. All of these different parameters are things that the community can vote on. So this is basically just the base that we're proposing. So this will then be voted on by the community, for example, to change the fees in the future, if that was necessary, or to change what split of the fees are going to the on-chain treasury versus to the collators. So this split was chosen because the idea of this split and transaction fee going to collators versus treasury is that you're appropriately compensating the collators for the work that they're doing for the chain. So the idea here is that you're just paying for the costs of running this collator. And on top of this, a block reward can still be given to the collators, but this is just the split of the transaction fee by itself. So the ways that collators actually get payment for being a collator for the chain is through this transaction fee that they're getting a percentage of, and also through the block reward once that's actually implemented. So that's also something that we hope gets proposed soon for the community, that we are adding the block reward again, because we don't have this staking palette functionality yet. So all this is a little bit manual so far until parachains are actually able to add a staking palette again, like we had when we were just a standalone chain. And yeah, at the moment, the burn rate is just set to 0. This is just chosen because there still isn't a huge amount of activity on chain, and there are currently there's no CFG in the treasury on chain because we're just adding it now. So because it's super fresh and there's no treasury yet with nothing in it on chain, we set the burn rate to 0 for now to allow the treasury to actually grow. Because the whole point of having this on-chain treasury is that we're able to, as a community of CFG holders, decide on what that CFG is spent on to develop Centrifuge. So we thought that it didn't make sense to set this burn rate to something larger right now. But of course, these are all parameters that now the community will be able to propose to change going forward once this is actually added on chain.
All right, thank you. Christian has a question. You want to ask it yourself, Christian?
Yeah, I just can repeat the question I wrote in the chat because it's written in the feedback from Luis. The specification of a relevant amount of tokens. What does it mean?
I mean, maybe Luis is on the call. I believe he just meant what I explained, that right now there's no size to the treasury at all. So then when the treasury is growing, maybe it makes sense then for the community to revisit what this burn rate is set to. But for now, given that the treasury is empty, it doesn't really make sense to have a burn rate set yet. I believe that's what he meant there, but maybe I don't see.
Yeah, probably. So there is no threshold that it changes.
I think we'll have to do a temperature check on like what people think. So we should just figure out I mean, right now, like if it's a couple of thousand CFG and like we start burning like a small percentage of that, I don't think it's going to make any difference. If we suddenly are in a position where there's tens of millions of CFG in there, then I think that would be very different, right? ideally we get the treasury to a point where it can, we can start using treasury proposals to fund like members in the DAO. And if the treasury starts to become big enough that we can do that, then I would say we can also start discussing how much we want to burn. But really the burning, right, is a way to kind of like introduce kind of like reduction of the supply, and also it kind of acts as an incentive to spend the treasury or have it be burned, right? And there's no specific number. I think any point anyone could just come and say, let's propose to do this and start the debate. I think today, personally, I think it's too early, but at what point, how fast it grows, right? It all depends on network usage, on fees, on what kind of like the treasury is being used for.
Yeah, thanks, Cassidy and Lucas. This actually, this was posted a few minutes ago, maybe an hour ago. It's huge news that the reduction of the total supply with burning. So maybe we should celebrate a little bit more. I personally I'm a big fan of maker burn. Yeah, is it too early to implement such a tool? Because I like it. I really like it where you can see transaction burns a special amount of CFG. Maybe it's too early, but hopefully we can have such a similar tool in the future.
Does anyone want to take that question?
Yeah, I mean, I would say it's a bit early. That right now, CFG, there's 0 CFG in the treasury. Let's see how fast it takes to get even to 100,000 CFG. And I think before that, it definitely doesn't make any sense. And then we can maybe start talking about it. But yes, I personally also love Maker Burn, and I also love the site makerburn.com where you can look at it. And I think it's a good way to think about it. I agree.
All right, and this recent initiative with the fees going to the treasury is going to be really interesting once the pools launch on Centrifuge, where you're going to have a lot of transactions. So that's where it's going to be interesting, and we can continue talking about all of these things, the parameters and what to do with the tokens and how much should be distributed here and there. So yeah, that makes sense. Any other questions, inquiries regarding this topic? Anyone else has something they want to ask? You can either type it in the chat if you don't want to speak up, or you feel free to ask it yourself. All right. Okay, then. So we can move on to the next point on the agenda, which is the credit group. That will be Mike that will talk us through that. Is Mike here with us? Are you here with us, Mike?
I am indeed. Hey, everybody. Yeah, I'll try and keep this brief, because I think we talked about it a few governance calls ago, but I think I can give a little bit of color at least on where we are. Maybe a little bit too on why it's taken a bit longer than hoped for, and then I think maybe give a little more context on where we hope to go with this and what we hope to kind of achieve in the near term. So I think just for a reminder for everybody, the credit group is a decentralized group of credit experts or analysts that we're aggregating that will help produce opinions and risk analyses for new pools that are going to launch on the Centrifuge chain. So these members will typically have experience in the traditional credit sphere, where they work with, maybe one or a few asset classes, something like someone who covers real estate as an example, or someone who has expertise in trade finance, and can really provide, I think, standardized reports to the community, i.e. all of us, and also importantly, our external partners. So these are DeFi protocols like Maker, Aave, ones that we may work with in the future, as well as we start integrating and sourcing DeFi liquidity from across the ecosystem. We can use this credit group to create trust and create, like a more, I would say, solid business relationship, and have trust in our governance process for onboarding these pools, that they're done kind of professionally and reviewed by a group of experts before they're onboarded. And I think that that's an effort that can be pulled across communities, not only for ours, and hopefully the end goal is to have a kind of standardized credit reporting that is accepted in various communities, and kind of gives a recommendation or an opinion that empowers token holders ultimately to be able to vote on new collateral coming on board. And I think that's kind of the end goal and what we're working towards. I think the first iteration there that we're planning is to construct a group, probably of about 5 experts to start, that can author reports. And those will be laid out pretty soon in a governance post, what those are going to look like, as we are requesting funding from the on-chain treasury. And I think that's a little bit of where the delay has come, is it's actually the first such request. So I think in writing that, there's also a bigger thought piece of how we start formulating those requests in a like kind of standardized, organized fashion. So I think that's what we're working through. I very much hope that this will be live imminently. Hopefully, in the coming weeks. A lot of people have already reached out on the basis of just people we talked to and the previous requests for comments and polls in the forum. We did have a Google form if you haven't seen that and want to apply or express your interest, please do check that out and fill it out. I think there are some great members, and I look forward to piecing it together and then hopefully iterating on how to best produce these reports, and hopefully can get feedback from everybody on if they're helpful in logic of when these new pools are onboarded. But I think they'll definitely play a key role in the process and help drive the decentralized onboarding process, or the POP that we've implemented for new pools. But yeah, that's kind of the update of where we are today. Happy to take any questions if anybody has any.
Yeah, great, thank you, Mike. Anyone want to ask something about the credit group? Feel free to speak up or write the question.
Just a quick question, Eric Mayo. Just wondering where that form was. Okay, never mind. Somebody posted it. Thanks.
You're welcome. Yes, Ivan just posted it in the chat. So yeah, there was a governance proposal back in March, April for the creation of this credit group, and the vote passed the poll. So, and yeah, you can find all the discussion and about the credit group in the link that Ivan just posted in the chat.
Yeah, also too, if you need any more information, like that's a pretty just high level description. Like, feel free to reach out to me. I'm happy to also interface directly with interested people and help them kind of through that form and thinking about their expertise and how they can be relevant.
Perfect, good to know. So if any of you out there have the right competences and are interested in being part of the credit group, you can reach out to Mike directly as well. So yeah, anyone else has something?
Hi, yeah, Patrick here. I don't know if you can hear me. Sorry, I missed the start of the call, but just a general question. I'm an investor looking to raise a fund, hopefully. What are the biggest challenges? I mean, I really like the idea of real world asset lending. But what are the biggest challenges that you're having to really scale for the next leg of growth, just generally, and how do you see it in the future?
Good question. Thank you. Anyone wants to take this?
I guess I can, unless you want it, Lucas. Okay, I can take it. I think the journey we're on, I think we've kind of proved that the technology can work at like a small, medium scale, and really now I think the next challenge ahead is scaling to more of a, let's say, institutional grade assets and investors. And I think that's probably the next step that we're taking. And that really, it comes with a lot of complexities in terms of, you know, the more you go up the value chain, the more complexities there are in onboarding those transactions and the counterparties on both sides of the equation. And I think that takes time, but also, you know, investing that time will allow us to scale much quicker if we get it right. So I think, you know, we've been working, you know, a lot behind the scenes to onboard larger originators with more mature loan tapes, you know, more robust underwriting methodologies and longer histories and bigger loan books ultimately. And I think, you know, one challenge in kind of the chicken and egg that is growing a lot of these kind of marketplace style platforms is, you know, you've got assets and then you have to get capital and going back and forth. So I think that's kind of like where we're oscillating back and forth between those right now, which remains a challenge. But I think we have a lot of, you know, good traction with the right partners now, and should start seeing some of those fruits on board in the near future. I think one thing I'll draw attention to is working with more funds. I think you mentioned you're trying to start a fund, but you know, more funds that can that are specifically looking at on-chain credit. Someone like Block Tower, who we've done a partnership with, and I think this is a new segment that we're starting to hear a lot about in the market now. Is people, you know, looking for real yields or you know, yields that aren't just associated with token emissions. So I think that's where we're uniquely positioned. And I think as more and more funds actually bring expert personnel to this space, I think that should help drive growth over the next several months. But I think that's like from a business perspective where the challenges, but probably also a lot of the opportunities lie.
Cheers, Mike.
No problem.
Anyone else wants to ask something? I have one question. It's well, primarily directed to you, Mike, but basically anyone in the chat. Like this idea of credit group, is this something that is unique for Centrifuge, or do you know of other projects who have something similar? And how is this different from what other DAOs are doing? I said one question, that was actually two questions. But
yeah, I think you know, I will say this, like Centrifuge has been a pioneer, absolutely, in the real world asset category. We've kind of, you know, been probably building on that front longer than many other or any other kind of Web3 projects. And I think very much with the credit group, you know, we are leading the way in some sense. I think there are some similarities with the real world finance core unit at MakerDAO in the way that they publish risk analysis report in the Maker Forum for potential new vaults around real world assets, which a lot of those today have come from Centrifuge. So there are some similarities between what the real world finance core unit is doing in this credit group, but I think the credit group is even a step further in a decentralized sense. And to some of the points I made earlier, because of that, you know, to your point, because a lot of DAOs don't have this infrastructure today and don't have this personnel, like I would really hope that that's where the credit group can shine and become, you know, a leading voice in the real world asset space, and hopefully, you know, first and foremost, service like the Centrifuge community and help forward what we're doing here. But then I think in the wake of that, hopefully become, you know, a powerful voice within other DAOs, potentially, having these reports out there that are, understandable and reproducible and respected across DAOs, I think is a powerful thing. So that's kind of where the vision is.
Thank you for that, Mike. So yes, Centrifuge is indeed a pioneer in this field, and I am really looking forward to see how this whole space is going to shape up over the coming years and how it's going to scale with all the new implementations coming. So yeah, definitely something to look forward to. Anyone else wants to add something or ask something? All right. Okay then. So thank you, Mike. Thank you very much. And we can move on to the next point of the agenda, which is the governance UI rollout. So that will be me talking a little bit about that. As I mentioned in the beginning of the call, there is currently a poll going on for integrating Subsquare as our new user interface for governance. And there are still 5 days left, so it hasn't finished and passed yet, but it's already in last time I checked, 19 people who had voted yes. That's all of the people who voted. So it's looking as it's going to pass, but let's wait until it actually has finished. But if this poll passes, then we will start the integration process. We will contact Subsquare and ask them to integrate this user interface for both Centrifuge and Altair. So I'm not going to go too much into details about the things. There are, if the vote passes and we integrate, there will be some documentation on how to use it, what's going to be different, and what's going to be the same. So I can say a couple of words about like what's going to be the same and what's going to be different. Now, what's going to be the same is that the overall governance process is going to be the same. So we're going to be starting with a request for comment, like the initial proposal that is going to be posted to get feedback from the community, which will be followed by a poll, like a sort of a temperature check from the community to see like what is the sentiment around this proposal. And then afterwards, there's going to be an on-chain proposal where the proposal is actually made so people can vote on it. And then there's going to be a on-chain referendum that is the actually vote that token holders can vote on. And then there is the enactment, so the implementation itself. So that's not going to change too much. That's going to be the same. What's going to be different is that right now, the first 2 steps, the request for comment, the RFC, and the poll, they take place on our forum. In the future, if or when we integrate Subsquare, they're all going to take place on Subsquare. And the same goes for the next 2 steps in the process, the on-chain proposal and the on-chain referendum. They're also going to take place on Subsquare, which means we'll be gathering everything in one place. So you don't have to go do one thing this place and another thing the other place. So it will be easier to participate in that way. So only one platform. And it also, sorry, it's also going to give us a better overview of the whole governance activities, like what proposals have passed, which ones are ongoing. And when you're voting on a referendum, you will have a description of what you're voting on, which is a little bit of a limitation right now in the portal that we are using for our on-chain governance. So that's going to be what's going to be different. So, and I will not go much deeper into the hows of each things. There will be explanations of that in due time. We have to wait for the proposal to pass first, the poll. So, but I'm interested in hearing from the community what do you think like would integrating a user interface like Subsquare make you participate more in governance? Because that's actually one of the goals in integrating Subsquare, that to first make it easier to participate, but also to get more people involved in both the off-chain and the on-chain governance. So you guys in the chat here, would it change anything for you to have a user interface like Subsquare in terms of participating more in governance? Or what are your thoughts? Feel free to speak up. Don't speak all at once. Christian, you wrote something in the chat. Oh no, that was not for that. Sorry. So anyone has no input for whether this would change their participation in governance?
Can I say something?
Of course you can. Go ahead.
Okay. Yeah. For me, I definitely will. Because you know, like the governance, like how to participate, it's very important for the Centrifuge. And I'm glad actually we choose one unique platform that everyone can just go to one place. We don't need to find here or there, because learning those the governance itself is quite difficult already. So I'm glad we make the process easier now with that platform. And I did try that actually. I think the one like we choose is quite easy to use, and we can all vote. And I'm looking forward for some future like maybe some more instruction for others to learn, like if I want to make a new proposal or something, right? And how can I do that? Or maybe we can have some instructions for the future users. So yeah, definitely I would be happy to participate.
Thank you very much for your input, always valued. So yeah, it is that is the intention, to make it easier and just yeah, better to making the whole voting with tokens and the off-chain voting in polls, make it more convenient and easy for the users. So some of you are probably thinking that, well, how long is it going to take to get this integrated? Well, glad you're asking, because the plan is to, like, once the poll passes, if it passes, then it will take roughly around 1 week to integrate. So within a week, we can actually use the Subsquare interface for governance. However, we haven't still created the structure for all of these things, how to do it. So to begin with, you can use it to participate in referendum votes. So if you prefer using Subsquare for voting in referenda instead of using the portal, you can do that. But there will be more detailed explanations of how to do everything. But yeah, so as I said, not much. I don't want to dive too deep into it now, and this would be a topic for a future governance call where we can spend more time on it and dive a little bit deeper into it. So this is personally something I am very, very happy about, to get a new user interface for governance. And before creating the proposal, I reached out to 5 different projects in the Polkadot ecosystem to hear their feedback. Some of them using Subsquare, some of them using Polkassembly. But what they all had in common is that they're all happy with the change, with having a user interface, as opposed to earlier where they had to use the portal and Discord or forum for all their off-chain discussion. So definitely something I am looking really forward to. Yeah, and as Lucas said, that yeah, it will be easier to follow governance decisions because there's a really nice overview on all the activities, as I mentioned earlier. So that's also something, because right now we have Subscan to see all of these things, but now we will have it all gathered in one place. So anyone else has inputs, questions about this whole user interface, the governance process? Let us know.
Hi. Do you hear me?
Yes, we hear you.
Hi. I have to say something because I just used Subsquare yesterday to submit Kintsugi government's proposal. And actually, it's pretty easy, and you don't need a lot of instructions to be involved in government's process. So, and also one point, because other networks are using Polka Assembly and Subsquare, it's very familiar to users of Polkadot and Kusama to participate in governance by such way. So I believe it will help you to increase participation in governance discussions. This is a good project. I support them.
Thank you.
And yes, and
Go ahead,
also
go ahead.
I can tell it because I'm also Centrifuge token holder and ex-validator, so I think it's important. Thank you.
Definitely. Thank you for your input. And yeah, a very good point you're bringing up, that a lot of the community, the Polkadot and Kusama community, they are already familiar with Subsquare. So it would also be easier for them to participate in Centrifuge governance because it's the same system. However, we have the opportunity to customize the user interface to add different things, but that's also something we will come back to a little bit later. So let's wait for the poll to pass first, and then we can look into all of these different features we would like to see in Subsquare. So thank you for sharing that with us, Web3 Alert. So anyone else has something on their mind? All right, silence. So that means everyone is happy with the decision of Subsquare. We made the right choice. Glad to hear that. So that's we are on schedule. So we still have 20 minutes left, and we have Web3 Alert, who will make a demonstration of their notification app, and then there will be time for some questions afterwards. And then we have a special announcement to make towards the end of the call as well. So if there is nothing else, we can move on to the next point on the agenda. All right. So Web3 Alert, who will be doing the presentation? Will it be you, Greg, or?
I'll be doing my presentation. So my name is Greg. I'm part of the Echo.
Yeah, there's an echo. There's something with this. It was good before in the beginning of the call when you tested.
1 second. Is it better now?
No, still the same.
No. Better now?
It seems a little bit better. Try to continue. Yeah, seems better.
Weird.
Let me make a demo, Greg.
All right.
All right. You should be able to share your screen, and yeah, it's all yours.
Okay. Hi everyone. My name is Evgeny. And we are developing Web3 Alert. It's very simple. It's a tool with listening on-chain events and calls, and send notifications to messengers. Pretty simple task for us, but not really simple to do. So we are already integrated with some substrate and EVM networks, and it's very easy for users to track off all of his networks and notifications in one place. Let I show you how it works. On example of Kusama. Sorry, it's my demonstration. It's my demonstration account. Okay, we have dashboard with all subscriptions and notifications of Kusama, where users can manage all of it easily. You can edit, delete, or sort everything, and I will try to be shortly. And how to create subscription to any on-chain event. We are going to advanced mode, and we see all of the models of Kusama. You can choose any of model, for example, democracy or balances or treasury, and on step 2 you can choose event or call, what name it extrinsic on substrate ecosystem. So you can choose any of existing events or call and set up filter for it. After that, user can choose messengers where he want to receive notifications. It could be Telegram, Discord, or Slack. And don't forget to press add subscription. That's all. That's how you can set up notification to your messengers from advanced mode. And also to make this process easily, we have created a simple mode where you can set up many events by few clicks. For example, I want to receive all address alerts about my wallet notifications, about transfers, rewards, and something else. And for example, I want to receive some democracy events. For example, only about referendums. After I will use some address and choose messenger to receive notifications. It's already done. Actually, this is all what I wanted to show you, and I don't need to show much because you can go to web3alert.io and test it by yourself. Our service is running for these networks, and you will be able to get notifications. Also, I want to tell you what some of network already started to use our service to notify users in their project discords about government's notifications. It is very easy, and you can test it anytime. That's all. I would like to hear your questions.
Yes, I have just one. That is just to keep it simple, because the majority of the people here, what I assume that they will be needing it for in terms of notification is, one, if there's been any transactions in their wallet, and two, if there are any new referenda or council motions being proposed that they have to vote on. So that could you just give us a specific example? For example, if I want to, oh, sorry, before you do that, and then they will receive a notification on Telegram. Is that roughly how it works?
1 second. Can I try to reshare a screen to show how it works in Telegram?
That would be great. Please go ahead.
Okay, I'm ready. 1 moment. I need to share all my screen.
Because it's going to be we saw that it's great. You have a lot of options to customize, but I think for the majority of people, it would be to get notification.
Yeah. Do you see my screen?
We do.
Okay, that's how it looks in Telegram. This is one bot for all networks, and in future you will be able to set up a lot of channels and bots. What you can do now in Discord, you can set up notifications for any count of your channels. One notifications for governance channel, one notifications for some balance channel or something like that. And that's how it's look. We have some description about notification, about event, and some parameters. And also we have links to Subscan or Polka Assembly or any of government's platform. We can add links to government's events to Subsquare, for example. And that's how it looks in Interlay and Kintsugi Discord. They using web alerts to notify users about government's events. That's how it looks, and they have already a link to democracy event, for example. Referendum started, and we can go to referendum page and participate in it.
Interesting. So basically an automated message every time there is a new referendum, it will be notified on Discord, and people can press the link directly to Subsquare and go and vote. Is that?
Yes, you can manage it by Discord servers owner and add notifications to your channels, or you can use it just like a usual user and receive notifications in your messengers, for example, in Slack or in Telegram. And it can be useful not only for governments. Of course, it's very useful to track your balances, to track transfers or any event or call what you can find in the whole network. For example, Interlay and Centrifuge, they are also using Battery Alert for track KBTC feed about redeems, about issue new BTC. One more example how you can use it. And we send notifications about all details of events, what they want, and of course link to Subscan to get more details. But main thing, what you are receiving access to on-chain data immediately, and all users of network can do that.
Great, thank you for that. Does anyone have any questions, something they want clarified about yeah, Dr. Carl, go ahead.
Okay, it's a very good demo. I have a question actually about the Web3 nerd. And so we know it's good for the governance, but another thing would be the security, as we see like a lot of the parachains, they get hacked, and it's because of very kind of a special events, right? Maybe one wanted, they suddenly get a lot of centrifuge, or they send out, or they swap a lot of centrifuge. So is that possible to also keep track of those, like get a notification when like one project get hacked, or maybe some very different kinds of events happened?
Okay, yeah, I understood you. So now we tracking only events and calls in networks. So in future we plan to add a new feature, track not only event but changes of state. It will be very useful for DeFi. For example, users will be able to track levels of collateralization, be aware of liquidation, track some parameters of like API, IPR, and also it's very flexible actually, and it depends from a request of community. We can add some custom notifications, but we need to request from users. Right now, it's just track all events, calls with filters, something like that. And of course, in any time we can add something special and customize it. For example, I believe it can be useful to track something with supply. It can help it to Akala users to know what supply is changing dramatically or something like that. But there are no universal scenarios to know about hacks. That's the main problem.
All right. Did that answer your question, Dr. Gao?
Yes, thank you.
All right. Anyone else want to ask something about Web3 alerts, the notification system? Things they're curious about?
I believe it will be great if someone who interested will test it on production version and ask me on Centrifuge Discord, and I will answer to any of questions.
Sounds like a great idea. Could you type in a message in our Discord channel just with a brief message, like just so people know, because people might forget tomorrow, the day after. Just
okay, yes, I will do it right now.
Thank you. All right. Now, as we mentioned earlier, we just made a proposal to integrate Subsquare. So we are in the process of that. So we will need to hear some feedback from the community, and then we will get back to you guys. But meanwhile, if you could write your message in Discord, so if anyone interested want to test, they can do that. Thank you guys for coming, and thank you guys for your presentation. Appreciate your time. And all right, last but not least, we have a special announcement for a special user. So Dr. Ka, do you want the honor?
Okay, thank you. Thank you for the opportunity, and it's really the honor to make this announcement. So Amy Q, are you still here? I hope you are not falling asleep now. Yes, okay, great. I know it's quite late for you. Congratulations. Thank you for participating in our governance and community calls. Be active in the Centrifuge community. So I would like to share everyone in the team. We voted for you to be our first winner of Centrifuge NFT. Congratulations. Okay, so this NFT will be on OpenSea and it's quite unique. So we will choose at most one, I think, each month for the most valuable Centrifuge user. So again, congratulations, Amy. Maybe you can contact me later on after the call. Everyone in the call will have the opportunity to win that as well. So if you just keep coming to future calls, I'm sure you will learn something and also get the NFT. So be active in the Discord, in the forum. By the way, we also have the POAP NFT and all of you will get that. Don't forget, so check the link has been posted by Ivan already. Thank you. So make sure you fill it out before you leave. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Cao, for the good news. So yeah, as Dr. Cao mentioned, there is a POAP for every attendee in the governance call. You would need to go to the Google form that has been linked to in the chat and fill out the information with your Discord username and your forum username. And the first 50, I believe, in every call will be rewarded with a POAP. But the NFT we just gave away to Amy, that's like a special NFT for those who do a little bit extra, who come, who participate, who are active in governance. So, so yeah, keep showing up, keep contributing, and that's it. Thank you very much, Jeff, for all that.
Thank you, Orhan.
Okay, any final thoughts? Any questions before we round off the call? All right. I take this silence as a no. So thank you for coming, everyone. Thank you for joining. And we will see you in the next call next month. Thank you.
Thank you, Orhan.